Internet TCI, our monthly program where we discuss the global internet. My name is Rich Wiggins, and as always, I'd like to introduce my partner in crime, Chuck Severance.
Thanks, Rich. Well, tonight I think we're going to have a really information-packed show tonight. So tell me, what have you done internet-related this month, last month or so?
Well, Chuck, we have a friend who's a professor at MSU who I will not name, who once said that the best year that he spent at Michigan State University was the year that he spent on sabbatical at Stanford. And since I'm not on the faculty, I don't get to take. Recently took a month off.
Right.
Book. And even though I didn't finish the second book, that month off was probably my best time at my tenure at Michigan State.
So what's your second book about?
It's about the World Wide Web, of course. It's called The Web on a Disk.
The Web on a Disk. Well, sounds interesting.
We're going to put all 10 million URLs.
Am I going to be in that book too?
If you're nice.
If I'm nice.
If you're nice tonight, you will be in the book.
Well, I'm not sure I'll be nice tonight.
Well,
we'll see how that goes.
We'll see.
So what do you got to show us?
Well, I've been busy in other writing projects. I had an article in a recent issue of New Media Magazine, which is sort of for the hypermedia set, and it's a complete web server buyer guide. So if anybody in the audience is in the market for a web server software package, they might want to look for the August 95 New Media.
Is that also on the web, or will it be soon?
They will be soon. They are not currently on the web. That's a good question. Now, another magazine that we've talked about in the past, Internet World, is in fact up on the web. And as it happens, I wrote the cover article for this issue of Internet World. Why are you doing that?
That's just amazing. You're publishing. You'll be a faculty member before you know it.
Anyhow, I was talking with an internet luminary, and he told me something interesting. He said he just started subscribing to Internet World because he did a Lycos search, and he found a past issue online that had a very good article not written by me, and he said, this must be a pretty good magazine. So it's an interesting reason why a magazine should publish on the web,
right? Because
you get indexed, and people come along later and they find you, and they say,
well, I mean, I would say that we probably get as many people inquiring about the show from us being in Yahoo as to seeing the show.
And, of course, we are a couple of Yahoos, so it just...
it fits right in.
It just fits right in.
We're at the top level of Yahoo. Well, you just click on Yahoo anywhere and go right to you.
Thanks, Charles.
Okay.
There went your mention in the second book, I must say.
I was that part out.
I was off in New Brunswick recently and at a conference and picking up various Canadian newspapers, and the Montreal Gazette happened to have an article on one of our favorite places, the Internet Café Electronique in Montreal.
Okay.
Happened to be mentioned in this. So one of the places that we've covered
exactly
has made the press.
That's pretty neat. Well, we were there first. We broke the story.
We broke the story here on Internet TCI, and we're mighty proud of that.
Yeah.
A couple of other things that I want to talk about real briefly. First off, our producer, Amy, saved me this month. While I was off on my mini sabbatical, I screwed up and I booked myself for 2 different speaking engagements at the same time. And in fact, I did that twice. One of those you rescued me from.
Yep.
The other one, I came and sat in this studio, and Amy and Ken helped me out and taped a second presentation. And while I was up north giving a presentation to State of Michigan data processing folks, down here I was giving a presentation at the exact same instant, courtesy of the studios here, to the Merit Joint Users staff. So
congratulations.
And Amy and Ken, you really saved me. They said it was an excellent video, so thanks, guys. Finally, we're always looking for cool URLs, and the oddest place that we'll find a new URL. We've mentioned in the past that if you pick up a newspaper these days, you're always going to run into movie ads. And if you look, for instance, for the ad for the current Bond flick that's just out, well, at the bottom of the page we see here, go to http://www.mgmua.com/ take a guess.
007.
My name is, Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
Oh, you're going to go there right now.
I'm just thinking about it.
Okay. And then the other, while you're, this is cool. While you're pulling that up.
Ooh, it's got, what are those gadgets?
The other odd place where I found a URL, should I mention this now?
Oh, yeah, well, this is cool. Oh, we're seated. Okay, that's cool.
Okay.
So there it is. We just went there. It's got,
that's a nice...
What's this thing mean?
This means they did some sort of progressive GIF or JPEG.
Oh, okay, because it changes while it's sitting here.
Yes, that's very clever.
Okay, go ahead. Let's take a look at the next one.
Well, I picked up the local paper looking at real estate ads, and a local place called Tommy Reen's Realty has appeared with a homepage out on the net, and we're going to pull them up. Okay.
Yep, there we are. I figure I can type these things as fast as you can bring them in.
Well, you're just...
This looks like, to me, like a brochure style.
Yeah. It's fairly attractive, I think.
We'll just click around here a bit. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. Well,
So what have you found on the web?
oh, well, speaking of being in weird places, I was in a Blues Bar in Chicago. Oh, no, I wasn't in a Blues Bar in Chicago. I was getting my tires changed. Okay, I was sitting in a local tire store, and I was reading through Car and Driver, I think. And I saw a couple of ads. One was from Infinity, and they had a web page. But the one that I really thought was the most interesting page of all is this one. This one is http://www.toyota.com. The thing that I find interesting about this particular one is, if you look, there's nothing else in this ad. Nothing else. There's no cars. There's no nothing. The idea is, it's cheap. You just buy an ad with a URL in it. So, I mean, they must know something that I don't know. But so here we take a look at Toyota, and so here's the real ad.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and so of course now we got an ad, we got interactive and intermittent wipers.
You know, that's interesting because I'm updating my business cards, and I was thinking, you know, wouldn't it be cool to just have your name and your URL and nothing else?
And no email address.
Nothing else.
Oh,
Just
that's a
your name
cool
and
idea.
your URL.
That's a cool idea. So I thought that was pretty neat. I thought that was pretty gutsy on the part of a Toyota to say, you know, that's the ad. Our clientele that's reading this magazine, of course, the rest of the people in the tire store, I don't think many of them had the web.
They're all ahead of you, Chuck.
Maybe they are. Maybe they do. So that was my cool site that I ran into.
Oh, great.
Let's talk. I want to do a little bit of viewer mail, like we always do. So let me minimize some windows here and go to some viewer mail. Let me get to the first one here. Oops. Let's see if it's going to work. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Dirk Koenig. This is a message from Dirk Koenig at Grand Rapids TV, and this is one of the Michigan area television stations that airs our program, and they just sent me a message saying, please put up our web page. So they have their web page, and we'll take a look at that. So
you point to my page, and I'll point to yours.
Exactly. Yeah. So we put them in, and here, let me grab this and switch over. They got a real cute web page over there. Edit.
You just paste it right in there.
Oh yeah.
Stick with me, I'll tell you how to do this.
Yeah, these computers, they kind of boggle me sometimes. So here's the Grand Rapids television page, and I thought this is pretty neat. And here we have their current program guide. So we'll click on the current program guide, and see Dirk. I mean, I really paid attention. I got this like this afternoon.
Ooh, he's into Netscape tables in a big way.
He is. And where are we here? Bingo!
Hey.
Internet show from 6:30 to 7:30 on Grand Rapids TV. So I thought that's pretty cool. So thanks,
in
Dirk.
the phone book.
We're in
Thanks.
the phone book. Right, exactly. Things are going to start happening to us now.
That's right.
Okay, so let's see. Another viewer mail. Again, this is a classic question. This one's from Jody May. We're customers of TCI here at Eastmont High School and have access to our classrooms to the internet. Is there any way we can get the internet show? We are located in Wenatchee, Washington.
Wow. They let high school kids watch this show after last episode?
You wait till this episode.
Oh my
No, the answer to this question is always the same. Anyone can get a copy of this show. We encourage as many TCI affiliates to carry the show on either their public access or on their local origination. People can get copies themselves and show it on their own educational network, and the address to get copies is at the end of the show, and all you have to do is order one and get copies, as many copies as you like. So keep answering that question. That's probably 1 out of every 4 questions is how do I get it? Let's see, is there anything else in these first things? TCI Chicago. No, I guess that's enough for viewer mail. So.
You know, I got some email from a fellow who calls himself the infomercial king, and I'm not kidding you. He says he's going to have an internet infomercial starting early in 1996 with a major personality, and he wanted to know, do I make as much money on my show as he expects he's going to make on his infomercial?
Oh,
and I don't know how to answer that.
Was he calling you because you're a major personality?
No, he was calling me because I have major personality disorders.
Okay, well, I think on that note, we'd better move ahead and get on with our next segment,
Okay.
Rich. In tonight's Internet for Everyone segment, Rich is going to tell us about the new features in Netscape version 2.0. So what's new, Rich?
Well, Chuck, the folks at the Netscape Communications Corporation have put a lot of effort into putting improvements in the Netscape Navigator. The 2.0 release is really a major release. It's chock full of features, and I'll be able to go over just the highlights of what they've done. First off, they've made some performance enhancements that we'll talk about. They've also improved the user interface in several ways. They've added support for a programming language called Java. We'll talk about that. They've improved the built-in email and Usenet news functionality of the browser, and they've invented a concept called Frames, which is a new way of looking at delivering documents on the web. Finally, I'll talk about how they've put in some web publishing tools, some authoring capability in the Navigator Gold version of the product. In terms of performance enhancements, the startup of the package is a lot faster now. It used to be that when you got going first in the morning and you fired up Netscape, it would take quite a while for it to start up, and now it's going to be a lot faster. They've also made some improvements to what's called caching. And what that means is if you continually revisit the same pages over and over again, as you typically will do in a web session, you'll find that hopping back and forth among these pages is almost instantaneous. They've also added support to something that's known as progressive JPEG. And what we mean by that is the ability for images to be shown on screen as they're being downloaded in a very nice progressive fashion. According to Lynn Feldman, the product manager for the Navigator, the images literally fly onto the screen, so it's much faster. And finally, in the area of performance enhancements, they've improved the shutdown processing. It used to be the case that when you were done using Netscape and you turned it off, if you had visited a whole bunch of sites, it would spend a lot of time cleaning up its list of visited places. That processing is a lot faster now. Now, when you're using the Navigator, you have to think in terms of, am I going to use the 16-bit version or the 32-bit version if you're a Windows user? Under Windows NT or Windows 95, you might want to go and get the 32-bit version of the Navigator because it'll generally run a lot faster. Also, it's the case that new features tend to appear first under the 32-bit version, and they also just sort of seem to work better. Now, if you're running on an older version of Windows, such as Windows 3.1, you're going to have to use a 16-bit version of the Netscape Navigator. And this is a little bit paradoxical and counterintuitive, but you do have to have what's called Win32s support installed even to use the 16-bit version. Now, that's a freely available add-on that you can get for these older versions of Windows, and you can download it from the Netscape company or from Microsoft. You do have to install this before you use Netscape. Now let's talk about some of the improvements to the user interface. First off, the options preferences processing, the way that you went and told it what you wanted in the way of fonts and appearance and so forth, was a little bit cumbersome. And now they've gone to a sort of a standard Windows 95 tabbed folders way of presenting the different options menus. So you click on the tab and that brings up an appropriate screen with the different choices. In this case, we're changing the font that we want used by default. Now let's talk about the support for the Java programming language. Java is an invention of Sun Microsystems, and that's a language that really extends the World Wide Web in a pretty important way. The idea of Java is that it's a platform-independent programming language. So somebody can write a piece of software that will be executed on a lot of different users' desktops, and it doesn't matter what operating system they're running under. With Java, you have little programs that are called applets, and these applets will be downloaded as they're needed along with the data that goes with the applet. And you'll see initially some exciting animations, but then over time we'll see some other kinds of exciting applications evolving in the Java realm. Now, Sun's implementation of Java is called the Hot Java Browser, and the Netscape folks went and licensed this technology, and the 2.0 release implements a Java interpreter. Now, at least with the beta version of the Navigator 2.0, I've found that the performance seems to be a bit of an issue. Comparing the Java applications running on Netscape on 100 megahertz Pentium, let's say, versus a fairly run-of-the-mill Sun workstation, I find that the Sun runs quite a bit faster. Now, when things get improved over time, it'll be interesting to see how the performance changes. Now let's talk about the Frames extensions that they've come up with. The folks at Netscape Communications have always been very aggressive about making extensions to the HTML language. And the traditional web model assumes that you make one mouse click and you get one panel back with one document area. The frames concept is a little bit different. It's a way that you can have more than one panel of information. The idea here is that you'll be able to go and pull down sort of a parent URL, and then the children URLs will come down along with. And you can even have what's called a Ledges frame that can sort of serve as a fixed table of contents area. Here's an example of how the frames processing might look. If you look on the screen here, we have some captured Netscape transactions, and we have one little panel here and another panel here. And if you look down at the bottom, this is sort of a menu bar, and if we were to click where it says Performance, then up in the top panel, it's going to give us a document that says Enhanced Performance. Now, if we instead were to click on the little menu bar where it says Email, then at this time we're going to get a pointer up to the email document. So what's in the upper panel actually adjusts based on the table of contents area that you click on below. Similarly, if we went and clicked on the news groups area down at the bottom panel, it'll bring up in the top panel the integrated news groups discussion and so forth. So that in a nutshell is what's going to happen with this frames processing. That'll be interesting to see. Now, Netscape has always had some rudimentary email and Usenet capabilities, but they've really added quite a bit of functionality. They've added a nice basic send and receive email package to the Netscape Navigator, and basic Usenet news reading functionality is pretty good now. You can read and you can post, and there's a threaded reading option where you can go and sort your Usenet news in an appropriate way. Of course, in both cases, you got to work out with your internet service provider what your server addresses are going to be for mail and for news. Now, in talking with the Netscape people, they tell me that they don't really intend that this email and Usenet functionality will satisfy every user. There will be some power users that will still want to go and get, for instance, Eudora for their email package, or some other kind of newsreader for their Usenet usage. But they do think that the Netscape Navigator will become sort of a 90% of the populace kind of a tool where most people will be satisfied using the Navigator for almost all of their internet activity. Here's an example of what Netscape might look like if it was your email package. There are ways that you can get mail and compose new mail, and you have a little window where you can go and type who you want to send it to, subject line, and so forth. Now, if Netscape's going to be your Usenet newsreader, you have the familiar concept of hierarchy within the news groups. You simply go and click on the news groups you're interested in, and over in this panel you get the articles you might want to look at. And there are simple ways that you can post to Usenet if you feel like it. The Netscape Gold authoring tool is going to be very interesting to watch. Netscape, with this functionality added, turns into more than just a browser. It's now an HTML editor. And that even includes the ability to drag and drop inline images into documents. And it's a what you see is what you get kind of an editor. You don't really have to wrestle with HTML so much when you're using a tool like that. Now, they say we're going to be able to edit and browse with one program, and we will even have what they call one-button publishing. What they mean by that is when you're done with your editing session and it looks good locally on your hard disk, you click on a particular submit button, and if you've been authorized to put it in a special area on a server somewhere, the HTML document and the associated images will automatically be placed on the server, binary transfer will be handled as appropriate, and it's just magic. One-button publishing. What we're really looking at then, in terms of where they're going with Netscape, is for most users we might have one appliance on the desktop, and that one appliance might be the Netscape Navigator. It was looking for a while in the early 90s as if we were going to have to install a bunch of different packages for different functions. You want to dial into America Online or Prodigy, you install one piece of software. You want to track a package on Federal Express, you install another. You want to do some email, you get another package. You want to do Usenet, you get another. You want to write some HTML, you get another. And there's a real possibility that a web browser like the Netscape Navigator is going to turn into a sort of a one-size-fits-all tool, a single appliance for the internet.
Boy, that's really exciting stuff, Rich. I mean, I know when I first put up a computer, the very first thing I want to get on is Netscape, because then I use that to put all the other stuff, the shareware stuff that I'm going to download. Until I have Netscape on a computer, I sort of feel like I'm missing something. One question I have, what of those things you talked about is going to be free or shareware, and what is expensive and costs money?
So far as I understand it, everything I talked about is in the freely downloadable version except the gold feature, which is the authoring capability. And I don't know the answer of whether that'll be free for educational use or not. I don't know.
Okay. I thought I'd heard that the PDF, PostScript display format, was going to be in the Netscape 2.0. How's that work?
Well, There's two ways that they can add functionality. They can sort of make it tightly bound with the tool, and that's what they did with Java. It's really sort of part of the product now. And then they have a slightly less tightly coupled mechanism called a plug-in, which is a term that Adobe has used for a long time. When you go and get an add-on, it's sort of a way of taking a subroutine library and gluing it in. And so in the past, when you wanted to use an Acrobat reader to read a PDF file, that was an external helper application, which is the most loosely coupled of all.
And it seems that interface changes completely.
Yes, and this is a plug-in, so you feel like you're in the same program, but it's not quite as tightly integrated as the Java functionality.
Do you think that we're going to get the PDF for free, or is that going to cost money?
Oh yeah, the reader is free, and you simply have to go and get the plug-in.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And what that means is you can use HTML when it's appropriate to use that, and you can use Adobe Acrobat when you need to have precise control over layout and delivering documents for offline printing. So there's a lot of functionality in this release.
That's pretty exciting. Thanks.
Yep. Now it's time for our On the Road segment. Now we have this tradition of we try to give the other person a gift when we go on the road, and recently I was off in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and Chuck, I claim I brought you back something that you never would have thunk. You're worried. You're worried.
I am worried now.
Chuck,
do I need like rubber gloves or something?
You
for this?
may. I have brought you the first condiment bottle you will get with a URL on it.
Oh, okay. That's better than the Blues Bar in Chicago.
Oh yeah, this is cool stuff. This is a place called Constant Creation, and they're in some little town in Nova Scotia. And they got it. They got the ingredients in English. They got them in French, and they got a URL. Maybe when we go surfing later, we can go and look for these people. They're.
What's the URL? Life is good, man.
We'll look for them later on. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Now I just want to tell you one thing right here, where it says heat scale 9 out of 10. They're kidding. This Scotch bonnet pepper that's in here, that's not hot at all. So don't worry about that.
I like hot stuff.
It's not really warm at all. So just
Thank you,
I want you to ladle it on real thick, whatever it is you're going to put on.
Thank you. That's pretty neat.
It won't burn your tongue at all.
That's pretty neat.
So where you been on the road lately?
Well, this particular On the Road segment is I went to Chicago and visited with a cartoonist named David Farley. David works at the University of Chicago Library in his spare time, doing computer support for the University of Chicago Library. He does cartoons in his spare time, and it takes many, many hours per week to do cartoons. I first saw Dr. Fun about 2 years ago, and I was extremely impressed with the extreme quality. He has a wonderful sense of humor. And the thing that amazed me the most when I first looked at it is this fella decided that he was going to come up with a cartoon every single day. And I thought, oh, he's going to give up. He's going to quit. And that's not true. Now, nearly 2 years later, every single day there is a new Dr. Fun. And I thought, until I met him, I didn't realize just how dedicated he was. And this guy, he could do cartoons every day for the next 20 years. I mean, he's got so many ideas. So if you look today at the United Media homepage, and we'll take a look at this, his cartoon started out on the internet, and it's now picked up by United Media. And if you look at the other two cartoons that are featured at the top of the United Media page, you have Peanuts, okay?
Really?
You have Dilbert, and then you have...
Dilbert's my fave.
I love Dilbert. I love Dilbert. They must know where we work when they write Dilbert, I'm afraid.
That's for sure.
So Dr. Fun, let me show you one of Dr. Fun's cartoons here. This happens to be today's, and almost always I get the Dr. Fun one. I don't get this one. I just don't get it.
Oh, you mean this is like a Far Side?
This is like a Far Side or a Herman.
Well, pillows are made of feather.
Okay, you got it. You're right. Okay, see, it's a message from the Chicken Mob. Eddie sleeps with pillows. You almost get it. The feathers part. So I didn't get this one today. But I stopped in to visit Dave in Chicago on the way back from a recent conference, and here's my report.
Okay.
Simply a cartoon, which is probably the only cartoon I could draw. It's sort of like the Far Side. It's not like a comic strip, or it's sort of like Herman or one of those cartoons. And basically, I've been drawing cartoons for a little over 10 years. Dr. Fun came about because what I really wanted to do was to have some kind of continuing cartoon, or some way to material in front of people than I was able to. You know, I would get some cartoons in some magazines, and every now and then I would get a cartoon printed by King Features. I sort of saw how this World Wide Web worked, and I got really excited about it because you could have, you know, a limited amount of formatting. You weren't just putting a file out. So I decided the main point of putting Dr. Fun out would be to put it in the World Wide Web, but I was also going to make it available other ways if I could. So it started out being World Wide Web and Usenet. I had to be kind of in the mood to draw ideas when I draw them, so I don't kind of go walking around and, you know, bing, I have an idea, pull out the notebook. I usually like go somewhere quiet and sit there and, you know, write for 20 minutes and then, you know, that's the writing for the day. And then when I go to draw the cartoons, I go back and I look through the notebooks, and some of the stuff I can't read anymore, and so no idea. It might have been funny, it might not have been. Some of the stuff I'll remember, and it'll go around in my head the whole time, and I'll think I have to draw that, and those are always the ones that aren't funny. Here's the one from today. It's about Pac-Man running through the snow. I forget what the exact caption was, but it was well, the caption on here says "Abandoned to the Wild." Pac-Man returns to run with the pack, or something like that. It's from start to finish. I guess it would take about an evening. But what I like to do is I like to do the sketch and then the lettering, and then I come back the next day and I ink them in, and then I do the cross hatching. And that way I kind of break things up.
So you scan them in and then you sort of color them on the computer.
Yeah. What I've tried to do is I've tried to create a cartoon that could be theoretically scanned and then printed in, you know, like this.
Right.
Like my thought has always been the black and white drawing should kind of stand by itself. And the color should add something to it, but the color shouldn't carry it. And then if it was, I have two separate files. One would be this file, and one would be a copy that would be in color. And I would color in the copy, and then this would be merged back into the colored file, sort of like a cartoon cell. And the end result would be this plus the color.
You've done this without a computer, and you've done it with a computer, right?
The coloring?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have done some coloring outside.
I mean, compare the difficulty. I mean, is this easier or harder, or just completely different?
Getting it the way you want it is not any easier, probably, than doing it by hand, just coloring it in. The thing about it is, theoretically, you can change more if you're on a computer. Like you can save masks, and you can do all this by hand. I mean, you can cut out masks and stuff like that. But it gives you a lot of things that can help you. And the longer I've done these, I guess there's been two things. The more I've learned about how the programs work, and the more techniques I've thought of. And so the cartoon that I would have just colored in and maybe added a gradient to the background when I started, you know, now I'll really think about, you know, what can I do with this, and what would make it look interesting, and what would be a big waste of time. So this guy's name is Rich.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's see what he's doing.
Okay. There's Rich on Internet TCI.
Okay.
And that's the end of another Chuck and Rich on the road.
Well, Rich, what do you think of that?
That's excellent.
Pretty neat. Well, I brought back a few things with me, some gifts. You know, you're always accusing me of not having gifts. Here is the first one. And this I'm going to put up on the back wall. And this is that cartoon
cool.
that he drew, the Chuck and Rich on the Road cartoon with his trademark Dr. Fun dog. So that's the first thing. So that's a little gift to the show that we'll put up here on our wall. The next gift is there's someone who never gets a gift on this show. You and I get all kinds of gifts, and I get yelled at all the time. So this is going to be a gift for Amy, okay, our producer. And what this is I thought he would really be offended if I asked him to change one of his cartoons, and he just jumped right in and changed it. And you saw him doing it in the piece where he put the name tag, the Rich name tag, and there's a Chuck name tag on this one as well. And so this one says, and this is signed by the author, it's going to be worth something someday, best of luck to Internet TCI, David Farley, and there's Chuck and Rich. And this is a great one. I get this in here. This says, these are two people belching, and it says, until the authorities stepped in, hundreds, if not thousands, of 9-year-old boys jammed the lines of a 1-900 belcher. And I thought, you know, that's us here, two guys burping on the set.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, okay, me, yeah, right. So, so I had to get one for you, and
I had to get one for you. You're so generous.
well, right, I got one for me too. So here's the one I got for you, and this is a man with extraordinary powers. We just searched for something that really fit you, and we got this one called, I don't quite know how this came about, but a man with X-lax eyes. And you just have to look at this one to figure out the...
I have to look at this?
Well, if you want to figure it out...
Well, let me look at it.
It says, too rich, all your troubles are behind you, David Farley. And signed by David Farley. And here's mine. I got myself a gift and brought this back. And I thought this was an extremely funny one, too. This is Unix Gurus in Hell. And you well know that Unix is one of my operating systems. And so the title of this one is Unix Gurus in Hell, and the devil's standing behind the Unix Guru. And he says, and we've already pre-installed Microsoft Bob.
Ah, excellent.
That's excellent. So I had a really good time, and brought back gifts for everyone.
Sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Great.
In Tech Talk today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Windows 95. I am very excited about Windows 95. I've been a Unix nerd from time immemorial, and the first operating system that has given me the things that I'm used to in Unix, other than Unix, is Windows 95. So I title my Tech Talk today, I call it Internet TCI Windows 95. So to start out, I want to talk a little bit about the Windows 95 things I like. The things I like about Windows 95 is upwards compatible with Windows 3.1 and Windows 3.1 3.1.1 workgroups. It runs DOS programs better than any of those, and it eliminates all kinds of things, config.sys, autoexec.bat. These files cause me no end of grief. I have to go ask people how to fix them. I ask my little brother. I ask Jeff, who works with me. I ask Chuck. I ask all these people how to fix these files, and I get tired of that. So Windows 95 seems to come with every single thing that I want and doesn't require me to think about that at all. And I've been in computers for many, many, many years now, and I'm getting tired of thinking about some of these basic things. And so I'm sort of ready for something like Windows 95. Built-in support, these are the kinds of things that I like. The memory management used to be just a pain in old Windows and DOS. You had to figure out, you buy additional products. It comes right in with it. You got device drivers for every popular piece of equipment, CD-ROM, network cards, modems, display adapters, and plug-and-play support. And Macintosh people might say that they have always had this in Macintosh. And it's like you plug something in and it knows it. And I'd say not exactly. The only thing that works in a Macintosh is the stuff that's built by the Apple computer. Now we have literally hundreds of different vendors whose products you can just drop in the back of your computer and click on a button that says, what did I just install, and automatically get the drivers. That is unprecedented. That is an amazing, wonderful interface. And of course, this is Internet TCI, and so the focus here is a lot on TCP/IP, the protocol of the Internet. Windows 95 in my list here is the last major operating system to support TCP/IP without add-ons, meaning it comes with the system. So Unix had this in the 70s-ish. IBM MVS, a big mainframe operating system, had this in the 90s. Macintosh with System 7.5 had this in 94. OS/2 Warp Connect 1995. And Microsoft Windows in 1995. Now the neat thing is, if you look at the percentage of the computers that are installed, the MS Windows is the big percentage. So what this really means to me is that sort of 98% of the meaningful computers in the world now have TCP/IP support inside of them. And I think that's really exciting, and exciting for the potential growth of the Internet. So Windows 95 TCP/IP is extremely easy to set up, and we're running a little short on time. Otherwise, I'd run you through the steps sitting here, and we may do that in a future episode. It's got support built in for LAN attached, local area network attached, and for modem attached. And here is a URL, http netinfo msu edu tcp/ip pc 95nettips.htm. This is prepared by a person named Margaret Wilson at Michigan State University, and it's wonderful step-by-step instructions. It tells you every button to click to go through a PC with a local area network connection and with a modem connection. And then, of course, what you next do is you once you've got yourself connected, you use Telnet and FTP. The steps that I typically do then after that is I put Netscape on. I'm sort of lost without Netscape, and the place you get that from is you go to ftpnetscape.com, then you install Netscape, and then what you do is you put all the rest of the stuff on from the net. There's a tremendous amount of Windows 95 software sitting on. Some of my favorites right away is WinZip. That's a really wonderful program, and the FTP version 3.2. So, it's now safe to turn off your television. No, I'm just kidding. This is the end of Tech Talk. Wouldn't want to turn off the television. You'd miss the rest of Internet TCI.
Now let's see what's going on in the news of the net. First off, in an AP article, Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web, was quoted as saying that a lot of people are getting into web programming coming from a background of liberal arts. He sees the web becoming a ubiquitous kind of a medium, and he says in a few years the web will be a global data space. Every application will work with the World Wide Web. The concept of an intranet is taking importance in today's discussions about the Internet. Now, an intranet is an internal network where a company or other organization publishes information for its own internal consumption. And according to a front-page article in the Wall Street Journal, there are those who are arguing that this is a threat to groupware such as Lotus Notes, and therefore perhaps IBM wasn't smart when they made their multi-billion-dollar investment in acquiring the Lotus Corporation. IBM disagrees vehemently, and in a page on the World Wide Web says that collaboration software and publishing software are two different kinds of software packages, and there's still a market for Lotus Notes. Both IBM and Sun are saying that we're going to be buying a new class of hardware known as an Internet Terminal. Now, an Internet Terminal will be a diskless workstation. With a tool like this, you'll boot it over the network and you'll download the software that you need over the network as you need it. The idea is that a tool like this might be $500 or so and have reasonably good graphics and reasonably high speed, but you don't have the cost and setup involvement that you would with a full-blown workstation. A number of companies are beginning to worry about how many of their employees are spending how much time surfing the Internet and the World Wide Web. Lockheed Corporation has announced that they've discovered workers surfing sports sites on the web to the point of wasting hours and hampering productivity. So they have begun monitoring all employees' activity on the Internet, including limits as to which sites employees can visit, according to an article in the New York Times. In the political arena, conservatives are disagreeing on what to do about Internet regulation. Those of the libertarian strain are saying that we ought to have self-regulation, have the industry and parents and consumers perform their own regulation using schemes yet to be devised. Social conservatives have a different idea. They're in favor of outlawing the transmission of what it might be referred to as indecent material. So organizations like the Christian Coalition and others are lobbying for government censorship of what is out on the Internet. And this is according to an article in the New York Times. Nielsen has finally done a serious survey of usage of the World Wide Web. They conducted this survey, a typical telephone survey, for CommerceNet, and they found that 37 million people in the U.S. and Canada have some form of Internet access. 64% of those have surfed the World Wide Web at least once, and apparently 2.5 million adults have made some sort of a purchase over the World Wide Web. The PBS network has decided they're going to put up a web of their TV stations. They're going to provide over 200 homepages for all PBS stations, serving as sort of a central site. But stations that wish to do so, of course, can go and publish their own homepages, and about 56 have already done so, according to an article in Broadcasting and Cable. AT&T has said they're going to give away Internet access. They say that they're going to provide free Internet access for the 110,000 schools that we have in this country. Now, what this really is a form of free dial-up access to the internet, and they're actually providing 100 hours of free time starting in fall of 1996, according to articles in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. The University of Michigan has decided that it's going to become an internet service provider. They're going to provide access throughout the state of Michigan for all of their alumni, they say, within a few months. Now, they actually hope that they can use this service as a way to mobilize alumni to assist in their legislative lobbying attempts as they compete for scarce state dollars. Finally, the Lycos Index has proven that they can't tell the difference between the University of Michigan and Michigan State University. They have in their Lycos 250 the most popular sites on the World Wide Web, and they list the interactive weather browser hosted by Charles Henrich at Michigan State University as a resource of the University of Michigan. And that's tonight's News of the Net. Tonight's Internet interview is with Dr. Clifford Lynch of the University of California System. He works in the Office of the President, and he's in charge of automation for their libraries. I caught up with Cliff at a meeting in New Brunswick where we discussed the World Wide Web and publishing on the web. Let's see what Cliff has to say.
The first question is, what's high bandwidth? Certainly to someone who's been limping along with a 9600 baud dial-up, Ethernet looks luxurious. On the other hand, for example, we've had some experiences at the University of California recently that have suggested that we're rapidly going to be needing to invest in much higher bandwidth than Ethernet. Our campuses are looking seriously, and in some cases installing ATM switches, targeting bandwidths in the hundreds of megabits, hopefully going up to a gigabit or so by the end of the decade. A lot of applications, visualization, even just large-scale access to bitmapped images of print pages are going to require things that go way beyond what we currently think of as high bandwidth. But I've also got to make some comments here about the low end. A lot of us do a lot of our work from home, on the road, places like that. I know I don't have a lot of time to check out new things on the web in my office, for example, so I'm still operating off a fairly slow modem line. I think that developments that get us bandwidth above sort of dial modem speeds in the home are going to be of tremendous importance in really reshaping the web as a more effective dissemination medium and making the internet a different kind of place. Right now, you can pull video or audio clips down a 14.4 or 28.8 modem connection, but it's sort of a parlor trick. It's not something you want to do for fun. We're starting to see ISDN come in. That's better, but not that much better. It's still expensive, and at least from the experiences I've been hearing, it can be very difficult to get it configured properly from the phone company and installed. I think if some of these experiments with things like cable TV modems that can give you a couple of megabits of bandwidth really come to fruition, and we see that as commodity-grade hardware, it's going to make a massive difference in the way people use the network. All of a sudden, we're in a very shared medium with strangers, and that's something that I think people need to take account of in the design of software to work in this environment.
So I have an Ethernet speed cable modem in my den right now. You're telling me I should be careful when I connect.
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is I envy you greatly that luxury. I'm still operating off a dial-up. I haven't quite taken the ISDN plunge, and I don't have such cable modems available in my area in California, at least that I know of. I think it's something you need to think about. I don't know too much about the specifics of how your system is configured, but it's a question that I think anyone looking at this needs to ask.
Okay. What are true personal computers going to be like?
Well, let me make a couple of observations here. We really really do have personal computers now in the sense that I think most people with a PC or a Macintosh really are often exclusive users of that for a period of 3 or 4 years. We're just beginning to see a recognition, though, that something that you relate to intimately over that long a period of time, and if you think about it, it is an intimate and extended relationship. People log 4, 6, 10, 12 hours a day working with these machines. Should allow you to tailor that machine very closely to your working style. We've seen some indications of that with the ability to customize programs with things like the Macintosh interface. What we don't find, though, is these programs don't remember very much about you and about your preferences. I think that this shortfall is particularly glaring when we look at information retrieval and access systems. Most of these are amnesics. They don't remember whether you've ever used the system before, what you were looking at yesterday. We really need to see a new generation of these that build upon this personal computing environment and that really take full advantage of it. I'm also struck by some other comments in this area about how really unresponsive computers are in some ways. I remember once hearing Nicholas Negroponte from the MIT Media Lab talk, and he made the rather outrageous statement that modern urinals are more intelligent than personal computers. At least they know when you're in front of them and when you walked away from them. That's striking to me, and I think we need more recognition of this relationship between human and computer in the design of software systems. I think one other thing that we need to recognize in this area, which nobody talks about, is the relationship with a computer isn't forever. Your typical computer has maybe a 2 to 5 year lifespan on the inside and outside, and we're going to need to migrate that knowledge about an individual from one computer to another as we move generations of hardware and software. It's ridiculous to think of investing 3 years in a relationship with a machine and then having to start all over with a new one, if you will. I think that the potentials for very personalized retrieval software are extremely exciting and probably represent one of the major IR research areas for the rest of this decade and beyond.
Well, Rich, like Dr. Lynch, I envy you having 10 megabits access in your den.
Well, someday, Chuck, we'll get you there.
Yeah, 10 megabits and slippers, pretty neat. I thought his observation on personal computers was right on the money. I find that it takes me a while to kind of get the computer to be the way I think. Like this computer that we're using here, the first few times you use it, it's like you're fighting it all the time, and then finally you got it working the way you want, and you got your icons the way you want. I think that's a really important observation because they're becoming a bigger and bigger part of our lives, and to not even know who's sitting there. I mean, cars, you sit down and the car adjusts the seats to you. The computer really doesn't care less as to who's here. So I think he's right on the money there.
The thing about Cliff Lynch is I've heard him speak at a number of different organizations, and I've spoken at some where he's spoken. And the thing about Cliff is he gets up, he has, you and I always have our PowerPoint, and we're well prepared for our talks. He walks to the podium with no notes, no slides, no nothing. He stands up, he speaks in complete sentences and paragraphs and makes sense, and is just full of insightful comments like that for an hour. And then somebody says, the hour's up, Dr. Lynch, and he sits down. And I hate him.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I just hate him.
I can't even speak in complete sentence when I got them written down.
What?
Let's see.
What'd you say?
I can't even speak.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know what you mean.
Well, Rich, you have been bugging me and bugging me and bugging me about the surfing segment this week, and you tell me that you're going to show me this thing about World's Chat, and it's going to just knock me for a loop. So let's start right away. You can tell me all about World's Chat.
Okay, Chuck. I discovered this on the net a couple of months ago in my copious spare time and wasted one evening that I should have been using working on my book. Worlds Chat is something that's a little bit like Doom. It's sort of a 3D environment, and it's a combination sort of internet relay chat in that you go and have discussions with people, and a 3D environment like Doom. So let's see what it looks like.
Okay.
Now, when you first fire it up, it opens you up in what they call the avatar gallery, and you can use the mouse or cursor keys to control movement, and you go through this gallery, and you say, well, which one of these things would we like to be an icon to represent us? I think that woman there, I don't think she'd be real good. The guy in the suit might be good for you, I don't know. But let's just get over here and let's pick this guy here. I think he might be a pretty good one. So we will click to get a cursor, and we'll say, yeah, I want that guy to be us. And we say, embody me.
Embody me.
Embody me. And it says, well, do you really want that? And something goes wrong with Windows here where we don't see our logon screen, but if we fiddle around long enough, we'll probably get it. There we go.
Rich is your name.
And if we look down here, it looks like it's trying to connect off to chat.worlds.net.
Okay.
And if the net gods are with us, connected, yes, logging in. Now, we're on your pathetic slow 486 machine. On my hip cool Pentium at home, it's
Hip cool Pentium, 10 megabits in the den.
Channel works in the den, that's right.
So.
Now, we're actually in the environment here, and we just ran over somebody. You see the person named Teddy Bear. They've chosen the same avatar we did. Unfortunately, that's a popular avatar. Now, let's try to...
stomped on.
We're in a crowded area here, so let's move around a little bit. And let's maybe find somewhere else to go. Oh, let's go over here. And,
Tip number 119, to leave Worlds Chat and quit the program, hit escape or click the quit button. Okay.
Now you see the little window going on down at the bottom
Yep.
here. This is where people are in fact carrying on conversations a lot like internet relay chat.
Oh,
Oops,
okay.
somebody just walked by and they went through the door. Let's follow them. Oops, got to get a mouse. There we go. Let's go through that doorway.
So can we find out who these people are? Get more detail about them?
There are
Like
ways that you can
tackle?
enter into Frank Rizzo. That was
Frank
the
Rizzo.
mayor of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking Rico Razzo from Midnight Cowboy.
Okay, and we can just keep going from room to room to room. You know, I'm predicting that our pal Henrich is going to see this thing and say, oh, I want to do this stuff. Now, what's neat about this is that our movements are, in fact, represented locally. Oops.
You just hit the wall.
I just ran right into the wall. I have a way of doing that. Our movements are local. They're not, in fact, being sent over the network. So the representation of what this is, which is really a space station, is all local. Now, you can hop around to different parts of the space station by clicking on these little sort of spheres and jump straight off to a different area.
So each area like has a topic?
Yeah, and so
Food.
let's go to food. That'll be your favorite area, I'm sure.
Yeah, hot sauce. Let's check out hot sauce.
Let's see if they have Nova Scotia hot sauce. There's somebody named Conan, and you see the little billboard there where it says food. We're going to go on in there.
If this was a penny, it'd be fast
It would.
food.
Now let me talk about this little thing that looks like a robot.
Yeah.
It is possible for people to compose using a sort of a compiler. You can compose your own 3D image. And the ones that look like a robot, those are people who have done that. And what you do is offline, you exchange the 3D information. And you can actually have Chuck's image standing there rotating in 3 space instead of a hand-picked off-the-shelf avatar. So now we're in the food area.
Ooh, fish burgers.
And blowfish burgers, whatever the heck, Hootie and the Blowfish.
I don't know.
And we go in the room and you just kind of look around, see if you see anybody. Nobody in that room right now. And the way it works is the 6 people who are closest to you at any one time, and there are these other folks that we were running into earlier. I don't know why they're all avoiding
There's
us.
Pete.
There's somebody named Pete. Now we could go over into the little chat window and we can say,
Hi, Pete.
I think hi Pete would be an enormously clever thing to say.
Glad I thought of it.
And Pete will probably ignore us because we're taping on television. But
Hi, Pete.
But you get the picture,
Pete.
and there are people all around, the global internet are wasting untold hours using Worlds Chat.
I'm from Korea. Are you American? Zappy. Oh. No,
Well,
that's not Pete.
So this gives you a flavor of what World's Chat looks
That's
like.
pretty neat. Oh, Pete's busy. Pete said, I'm busy.
Well, we're in a private room, and Pete may be carrying on a conversation that we don't want to be part of. So maybe it's time to leave World's Chat and do a little bit of web surfing.
That's
What do
pretty
you-
cool. That is pretty neat.
And I haven't even shown you the cool stuff yet.
Cool.
We'll do that some other time.
Sometime when we have a Pentium, then you can show me the
Okay,
build.
yeah, we really want to leave because we don't have a penny in.
Okay, well, let's do some surfing then. Let's surf the old-fashioned way. This is pretty neat, and for the technology that we have, that's pretty darn impressive. I think we'll find that people will begin to interact like that.
Okay. Now, first off, let's see. We were going to go to the chat homepage.
Yeah.
If people are interested in the software, you can get it freely over the net, and so you can just go to the homepage, www.worlds.net, and find out more about the software.
And then download it, right?
Yeah, and while you're pulling up another thing, let me make one other point. What these folks are doing, besides making this available for free use in the mode we were using it, is that they will build special virtual environments for special companies that want to hire them to do it. And I understand, for instance, Bank of America has hired them to build a virtual banking environment so that folks can, go up to the virtual teller using this sort of a 3D chat medium. So where are you heading?
I'm going to go to the hot sauce place. Fox.nstn.ca
/squiggle
tilde
ccgc/.
So this is the hot sauce place.
This must really belong in a hot list.
Ah, no. But if you put it in a bookmark, it'd make your book all messy, I would expect. So
And that must be their little logo here. Okay.
constant creation, creators of exquisite sauces and, too fast, exquisite sauces and condiments.
Pretty
Small
cool.
company in Old Nova Scotia. Pretty neat. Let's see. Let's find some other place to go take a quick look. We're about running out of time. Toyota, we've already been to Toyota. Hey, let's go to Infinity. These guys are kind of stark. I thought this was a pretty neat one. There we go. You've read our ads. Very stark.
Yeah.
Seen our commercials. Now you're at our homepage.
And you don't even know where to click. That's just like Infinity. That's just so.
You click right there. And then you have them. So, I mean, I can at least afford to click on the Infinity homepage. So, that's about all the time we're going to have. I want to encourage the viewers to send us email on the internet. We answer it. We're up late all the time and answer it very quickly. And see you next month.
See you on the net.